so many flyers.
Something must be happening, something big.
We better get to Whispering Woods fast.
I get you. By the power of Grayskull.
For the honor of Grayskull. I am She-Ra.
This looks like double trouble.
Let's move, Cat.
Hello, this is TFU and Mike, and welcome to the 75th chapter in our Powers of Grayskull series. With me for this journey into the Masters of the Universe comics franchise is none other than A-Das Baron himself. Hello, sir.
Hello.
Yes. A-Das Baron is new to the Powers of Grayskull series podcast. We've been doing this just to give you some background. Optimus Solo and I have been doing this for the last 4.5. Next year will be 5 years. It's taken us that long to go through all 130 episodes of Filmation He-Man and almost all 90. We're getting close to the end of the 93 episodes of She-Ra.
You gonna do new adventures?
Sadly, yes. That's going to be our summer series next year in 2017. And then the 2002 series will cap off the podcast at the end of the year next year, because I was not going to have this show go on beyond 5 years. Oh my God, 5 years of podcasting for all this stuff. Holy crap. Yeah. But we are here to talk about the comics. So sprinkled in throughout some of these, usually every 25 episodes, we put in, like episode 50, we talked about all the toys. Mm-hmm. Kevin and I talked about all the toys. Here's comics. I think episode 100 will be like probably a 30th anniversary DVD commentary of the original 1987 film, seeing as how it's 30 years old next year. Oh my God.
Oh boy.
Oh boy, yeah. Oh boy. So you and I have actually been doing the comic series over in the pull bag for Masters from the DC stuff, starting with the 2012 miniseries. We've been doing that for 2 years now.
Has it been that long?
Yes.
Oh, I started out such a child chap, and now I'm just old and haggard.
Yeah, June 5th, 2013 was when we first put up the He-Man and the MOTU 2012 miniseries episode. Oh boy. It's been a long 2 years, folks. It's been fun. It's been amazing. But we are here to talk about the overall history of the Masters of the Universe in comics, and this year marks 35 years since the comics started. They started in 1981, 2 years before the cartoon series.
I mean, it still feels kind of like yesterday.
It doesn't?
Sort of.
See, it doesn't to me, because I am one of those people that I remember seeing the mini comics. I don't think I ever had any of them as a kid.
Mm. Well, I was born in 84, so yeah. I don't have a lot of memories about the original run of everything.
Right, yeah.
I mean, when I would go to toy stores, I was more focused on Ghostbusters and Turtles, so I can't even remember paying attention to them in the aisles. I don't know if I ever saw them.
Yeah. Dark Horse recently, I think it was earlier this year or it might have been last year, they just put out, Dark Horse Comics just put out the giant mini comic collection. So there's a giant super book of all the mini comics collected together, which is nice, and you have that. Have you looked through that at all? Have you read through it, or?
Oh, I have. I got it for Christmas last year.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Uh-huh.
So it came. All right, that came out last year. I recently just, the way they did it digitally was they did it Volume 1 and Volume 2.
Okay.
So, because Volume 1 is like 600 pages. So there's no way they would have gotten away with putting the whole thing in digital.
Yeah, I would agree. Trying to.
Huh?
It's clocks in well over 1,100 pages.
Yeah. So they broke it up into two parts in the in Comixology in the digital versions, and I gotta say, I read through just before we started this because, like I said before, I've never really read the mini comics. I read through, I think, like the first 7 issues of it.
The storybook ones?
Yeah, I like the storybook ones. I think they're pretty cool. It's different.
You can't go wrong with the Alcala artwork.
Yeah. I mean, what I liked about the storybook ones is I just assumed that was going to be, what the entire run was going to be, and then it changed, and I'm like, oh.
I know, there's so many different continuities within the mini comics, and then within the DC ones, and everything else. It's hard to keep track of what's what.
Yeah, the thing with the mini comics is, like, I read the storybook ones, and I enjoyed those, and I just started skimming through the rest of it just to kind of get a feel for the art and see what some of the stories are. And they highlight, things like Triclops and Trapjaw and Skeletor and Grayskull and all that stuff. But I'm not a fan of old traditional Marvel, traditional coloring style, red, black, yellow, and blue.
Mm-hmm.
You look at the old Transformers comics, and Megatron is like blue and white.
Yeah, very basic.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that at all because I come from watching the cartoons, and the whole time I'm reading the storybook aspect of the original mini comics, I'm like, hey, that's essentially Conan, which I know that was kind of the whole play on thing. Because in the first part of the storybook comics, until he meets the sorceress or Tila or whoever the hell she's supposed to be, he's pretty much half naked with a loincloth on until he gets the armor from her.
Right.
And I'm like, wow, that's pretty interesting art. And I thought the storybook stuff was interesting because, as you said, it's storybook. So it's a picture, words, and doing that in the guided view on Comixology was really interesting.
How does that look?
Yeah, it looks really good. At least to me it does. It's one of those things where I almost would prefer reading comics like that now. Like sometimes in any comic today, it doesn't matter what series it is, what kind of layout it has. Sometimes I get confused with where certain things start and end. Sometimes, not all the time, but just every now and then I do. And this storybook style, I really dug it. I thought it was great. Basically, in the guided view, what they do is they start you off with a part of the story. They show you an image for the next panel, and then they, show you another part of the story to read and blah. So that was interesting.
Well, I like going through the guided view because even when you're looking at a whole page, there can be surprise story twists, but your eye is kind of going to be diverted towards that even before you get to it, or at least with me.
Yeah.
So by going with the guided view, it just kind of cuts all that out, and I wind up surprised.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. That's one of the reasons why I've always been a champion of that guided view on Comixology, because it's just, like you said, it's just like, oh, wow. Because sometimes the guided view will give you a really cool splash page where you really kind of can't get... I mean, there are splash pages in comics, and it's nice if you have a physical copy of a comic and you can open it up and see it, but the guided view, as you said, is pretty much you hit the right arrow or the right button or whatever else, and like, oh, hey, I was not expecting that at all. So, yeah, there has not been, I don't think, I'm looking here, it doesn't seem like there's been too much of a break in the comics here. I mean, just from what I'm seeing, the original run was from 81 to 83. Mm-hmm. DC had a limited series in 82. There were later mini comics from 85 to 87. And then the Princess of Power mini comics were 84 to 86. Marvel Star Comics series was 86 to 87. The UK magazines, which those would be interesting to look at, I think. I don't think I've ever seen those. That ran from 86 to 90. And then another He-Man mini comics started in '89, and then the Dark Horse mini comics in 2011, and obviously DC's been doing it since 2012. I'm more of the modern person for this type of stuff. Like I said, I don't really remember too much of the original mini comics or even the Princess of Power stuff. And to be honest, even though we're going through all of She-Ra and reviewing every single episode, I maybe remember outside of Secret of the Sword, because I always say that that's kind of separate. I maybe remember 10 episodes from She-Ra, and not just the 10 that are on the best of DVD, but like until we started doing this podcast, I did not remember half of the stuff in She-Ra. Because by '85, I was so engrossed with Optimus Prime and Megatron and giant robots.
Who knows what Skeletor will do to Adora if he sees all your soldiers coming?
Listen to them, King Randor.
He-Man!
I had a funny feeling he might show up.
So they had the mini comics came out with the original toys through all of them, and it's interesting here how they take various characters and work it into a mini comic. Like, the first one was He-Man and the Power Swords. You got a story based on that. You got King of Castle Grayskull. You got Battle in the Clouds, The Vengeance of Skeletor. So that's the first arc. And then the second series had stuff like, He-Man meets Ram Man, The Ordeal of Many-Faces, The Terror of Triclops, The Menace of Trapjaw. And these stories, from what I was able to read through before we did this, they're actually really, really good. The stories are. The art, on the other hand, when the art style
behind it.
Yeah. Again, for me, I think it's more so I'm so used to Pop Mahan and all the current artists than I am the classic ones. Do you have a favorite story from the original storybook run or any of the other runs?
I mean, you can't go wrong with the storybook ones. As I'm looking at the book itself, it's easy to find it because there's this big, colorful streak on the side of the pages. But I think a lot of people know Bruce Timm did a couple of the issues. Mm-hmm. However, he did one, I think it was a storybook. Yeah, it was a storybook, and he did the art, and he painted it. So it doesn't have...
I said, oh, wow.
Yeah, so it doesn't have that comic book coloring feel. Like, it really pops, and it looks more like painted artwork. And it's just absolutely spectacular.
Yeah, they really do look amazing. What I find interesting is, as they're going through some of these, after the second series, the third series ended up being Filmation MOTU, and they basically adapted the cartoon series into comic form.
Yeah, I think, what was it, Slave City, but they changed some of the characters out.
Mm-hmm.
And...
Yeah, they did Slave City, Siege of Avion, Double-Edged Sword, He-Man and the Insect People, the Secret Liquid of Life. Yeah. Based on, oh my God, Valley of Power. That was a horrible episode of He-Man. Oh.
The one thing I'm noticing with the initial run of the mini comics, or at least before you get into She-Ra, they're kind of broken up in waves.
Right.
So you have your 81 to 83, and then the ones that are based on the cartoon. And every bunch of those, Teela is depicted different in each one of them.
Yeah, she is.
They don't seem to be able to lock down a ready look for her.
Yeah, no, they don't at all. So through the fourth, fifth, and sixth series, we had various stories like Skeletor's Dragon and Leech, the Master of Power Suction Unleashed. Oh my God, I have to go back and read that one because, wow, I've never really been a Leech fan because of more so the voice than anything else, because it's so hard to understand a Daffy Duck impression.
Automation to it.
Yeah. There's so many things behind Leech's voice, and not the voice actor, just what they put behind the voice to give it that classic suction cuppy sound, and it just sounds like a really, really bad Daffy Duck impression.
Well, was it Lou Scheimer? Because I think the man only has just his normal voice, and then they just distort it to hell.
Yeah. I don't know off the top of my head. I don't have the list pulled up of who was what character voice. I know Lou did Orko, Lou did Cowl, Lou did a whole bunch of other voices. So there's that. In the 5th and 6th series, we got stories like Between a Rock and a Hard Place, The Ultimate Battleground, The Search for Keldor. So even back in '86, they had the whole Keldor Skeletor thing. Like, I knew that wasn't like a new thing.
It's just the series, the toy line died before they could get into it more.
Right, yeah. Yeah. After seeing the whole 2002 series, I knew that Keldor was not just in 2002. He was obviously in this before. Mm-hmm. And then I think they did this one leading up to the movie. The Cosmic Key in 1986.
Yeah, that's where things start to get a little zany.
Yeah. Because after that, we go back 2 years to 1984, and we have the Princess of Power mini-comics. And then there's the New Adventure mini-comics. Oh, my God, New Adventures. Hey, wait, there's a story in here for the She-Ra comics, Fantastic Fashions, in 1985. So does that mean She-Ra and Jem teamed up?
It's possible. They gotta listen to music other than Bo, I'm sure.
Let's hope, because Bo's a kind of a bad musician.
Yeah.
What were you going to say earlier?
No, you mentioned the Cosmic Key, and I'm flipping through this, and oh, good God, is the artwork atrocious.
Yeah.
But with the She-Ra one, if you notice, I don't know how much of it you've read, but at the end of each one, they have to give you a life lesson, and they have to highlight it in red.
Yeah, see, I understand why the cartoons themselves had to have the PSAs. With He-Man, you had various characters coming in at the end, whether it's He-Man, Orko, Man-at-Arms, whomever. In She-Ra, I don't know why the hell they tried to have some stalker kid hiding in the bushes waiting to jump out at people. I have never really cared for Lukey at all. And on top of that high-pitched Shimer voice that they used is just god awful. See you next time.
Yeah, I think it was just their attempt to try to pull in girls with bright, colorful, happy, plush characters.
I guess. And then we had the MOTU Classics series mini comics. This was in 2011, and then after that, we got the DC stuff. And you and I, as I said, have been doing the DC stuff for 2 or 3 years now. And at the end, we have not had a chance yet, folks, because the holidays and it's the end of the year and just too much going on. We have not had a chance yet to finish up our Eternity War coverage. We still have 2 episodes to go, 2 pullback episodes to go for that. So we are still going to be doing that. We're going to do one podcast with issues 11 to 13 from Eternity War, and then the final one for Eternity War will be 14 and 15. But after Eternity War ended, I was like, so what's next? And then a few months ago, a story popped up, He-Man and Thundercats. So that's the next big thing.
Yeah, I mean, with the whole Matty Collector thing going under, they might just be trying to this be the last hurrah for a while.
See, I thought Eternity War was going to be the last hurrah for a while. But who knows?
As long as I get my Thundercats.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, who knows? I mean, it's, it's DC and it's Mattel. I don't really see... I mean, I know Matty Collector is a part of Mattel, but I don't really see Mattel not allowing DC to do more stuff after the Thundercats series, after the He-Man Thundercats series. Maybe DC will strike up a deal with Super 7, since Super 7 took over the toys now.
Yeah.
So, who knows? Was there a comic either recently in the last 3, 4, 5 years or back in the old days that you like going back to a lot to read?
Of the ones I have in front of me?
Of the one, yeah, I guess.
I mean, definitely any of the Bruce Timm stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost when I'm flipping through it, it's like, oh, what if you just fit Batman in those panels? How would the artwork sync up with one another? Because it's not exactly on par with his traditional style. It's a little more rounded, but you can definitely tell, like in the eyes and whatnot.
Right. Yeah. 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 I mean, and the Bruce Timm stuff. I mean, both. I think he had a slight hand in the cartoon. I know Paul Dini had a hand in the cartoon for a while, and then they had gone over to various other projects before starting Batman in '92.
Yeah.
Oh man, that show's 25 years old next year. I know, we're old. So yeah, I mean, this is kind of a short discussion here, folks, because I tried getting certain other people in on this, and no one was really available. And surprisingly, and I'm going to call him out here because I just love Transformers Generation 1 Dan, so there's that. Nobody will get that joke. But no, good old Pixel Dan, I actually asked him if he wanted to be on this, and he said, surprisingly, I don't really know all that much about the comics. And I'm like, but you're Pixel Dan. You make Masters of the Universe your life.
In plastic form, and in video game form.
Yeah. It's time to form those blazing comics there, Dan. Oops.
All right, the busy man.
Yeah, I know. He's super busy. Oh. Yeah, I wonder what's on the horizon for the stuff, because I think the He-Man Thundercats thing, that's not an ongoing. That's going to end up a miniseries, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd imagine it would be.
Yeah, and they had the DC versus MOTU miniseries, the DC Universe versus MOTU series, which we covered. So they kind of have already done He-Man and Batman and Superman and all that. But you're right, that would be awesome to see BTAS Batman Bruce Timm style going up against Filmation Bruce Timm style He-Man. That would be kind of cool.
He's Batman. He'll always win.
Of course. Anything else you want to say about the comics overall in general?
I was surprised with, being in my 30s now, how fun it still is to read these things, and it doesn't feel necessarily like, you're reading a little kid's book. Mm-hmm. I mean, essentially you are, but the mini comics themselves, while they're a little dumbed down, they're not pandering to the audience.
Right, yeah.
With the exception of here's the lesson of the day, kids.
Yeah. Who is giving the lesson of the day?
It's usually any of, not one specific character, so it's not like it's Cal every issue or Lukey every issue. I think it changes issue by issue.
That's good. Yeah, and I remember, when we got around to doing the DC Universe MOTU crossover thing, I remember a lot of people, everybody has always bitched about Orko.
People love to bitch about the little, side.
I know. I mean, I'm one of them. I bitch about Lukey all the time. I think there's been one time in the She-Ra part of this podcast that I actually enjoyed Lukey being in an episode. But Orko, to me, he is a side character, but he's more than that. I mean, I was not expecting him to show up in She-Ra, and he does. He has a whole episode with Madame Raz and Shadow Weaver, and that was awesome. But in the DC Universe, Masters of the Universe 6-issue crossover, they give Orko more backstory, more character depth than I've ever seen. And then people are complaining, oh, but Horde Prime took him over and turned him dark and emo. Like it was something out of Frozen or something, which it wasn't, thank God.
Well, you'll never be able to appease hardcore fans with anything.
Listen, but I mean, we're hardcore fans, and how did you feel about the whole Orko thing? I mean,
I was kind of indifferent towards it. Yeah. I mean, they seemed to be going up until that point with, they could never advance the story at all. It was always kind of, here's He-Man, he gets his powers, here's Skeletor, they fight, and nothing really progresses.
Yeah.
But with these, they gave some thought into it, and the story started going in some places. Maybe not for the best, but it still went places nonetheless.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, see, I think that's DC's problem, is that they'll start something and then they'll, say, "Oh, well, this is going to be a new ongoing," and then it has a limited run, whether it's because of cost or whether it's because of not performing well in sales or whatever. And then whatever the next story they try to do, they basically have to restart the whole damn thing, even though from the 2012 miniseries up until the end of Eternity War, it's all one continuity. It still felt like every time that they're, between the end of issue 18, I will say issue 18, because issue 19 does not friggin' count in the ongoing series of the 2013 ongoing series, because that was just stupid. But at the end of the last chapter of Blood of Grayskull, between that and the start of Eternity War, it's like, so, yeah, the story's continuing, but we still have to find out about all this other stuff, and I don't know.
Well, those two seem to flow into one another fine, but all the other DC stuff around that time, I was a little confused as to what fit where.
Yeah. I'd almost love, I don't think this will ever happen, but, I'd almost love for the Mattel MOTU license for comics to go to IDW, because IDW's got everything. IDW's got Transformers, it's got ponies, it's got G.I. Joe, it's got Turtles, it's got everything.
It's got Gem, it's got Mask too, right?
Yeah, Gem, Mask has already been out.
Oh.
Yeah. I'll send you some links later.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, IDW's got all the 80s cartoon type properties except for really He-Man, and they've got, some really great, I would love to see a super giant crossover with Optimus Prime and Gem and Twilight Sparkle and Duke and Scarlet and He-Man and Teela. Why couldn't that work?
I feel like Hasbro's teased that so many times, with the exception of their non-properties, and they've never gone through with it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. All right, folks, I think we're going to get the heck out of here. If you guys have any opinions on the comics, or you have any opinions about what we've talked about, please let me know in the comments on the post on the website. As I said, Das and I, at the beginning of next year, we will wrap up the Eternity War coverage, and we'll probably start the He-Man Thundercats coverage at some point next year. I just don't know just yet. Coming up next, we've got the first ever double episode of the Powers of Grayskull series. We've got episodes 76 and 77. Optimus Soul and I recorded these in one night because they're two She-Ra cartoons in each podcast. And he makes a joke in that of, there's two episodes in that 4-episode span there. One is called Bo's Magical Gift, and the other one is called Glimmer Comes Home. So the joke is that Bo's magical gift makes Glimmer come home. So
all right.
Yeah. Bow chicka wow wow. So there's that. So huge double-sized episode. And the funny thing is, it's not any longer than what a normal regular-sized episode would be of Powers of Grayskull. It ended up being like an hour and 45 minutes. I thought it was going to be longer. So yeah, what have you got going on? Where can the people find you online, sir?
Mainly just Facebook and Instagram. I've fallen in love with Instagram over the past couple of months, and it helps keep my sanity in line when I'm working a retail job.
Yes.
So it's a good outlet for my sick, twisted sense of humor.
Taking inappropriate pictures of Jeffrey, are you?
Oh, no, I'm not working at Toys R Us anymore.
Thank God you got that joke. Because that was going to come out all kinds of wrong.
No, I got out of there like 3 years ago.
So what are the handles? Is it just A-Das Baron on both?
Yes, A.Das Baron.
All right. Awesome. You can find me at TF2 and Mike on Twitter. At Pow of Grayskull is the show Twitter. At Geekcast Radio is the network Twitter. You can also go to Facebook.com Geekcast Radio Network. Like us there. Obviously, go to the website, geekcastradio.com. We will catch you next time, folks, in episode 76 and 77. By the power and for the honor of Grayskull, you all have the power.
Yo-yo!
Yo-yo.
I'm certain of it. Of course, if you'd rather remain here...
Never. I hate this place. You two, bring the girl here.
No! No!
Well, what are you waiting for?
I'm afraid the plan has been changed, old friend. I have better use for the Princess of Eternia than you.
What?
Now, get him!
No! Skeletor! You traitor!
That takes care of him.
And now, Princess, I must decide what to do with you.
Oh!
She's fainted.
Just like a woman. Take her to the dungeons, Furface. I'll contact Randor and tell him my demands.
You're sure a pretty princess. It's too bad we have to lock you up in the dungeon.
Thanks for the compliment, Fangs.
Huh? You can't do this to me.
Funny, I thought I just did it. Bye now.
Where are we going?
To the lab. Skeletor wants us to run some tests on this sword the princess was carrying.
What for?
Odak seems to think there was something special about it.
That was lucky. Now to even the odds a little bit. For the honor of Grayskull! I am She-Ra!
Skeletor to King Randor. Skeletor to King Randor. Come in, you royal boob.
It's not nice to call people names.
Who are you, woman?
The name's She-Ra. And you can stop trying to call the king. I've freed the princess.
What? Get her!
My, you boys are forward. Oh, all right. One dance, and that's it. Now you fellows are using your heads.
You nincompoops! Bee-brains! I'll take care of her myself! Ha! Missed!
Wait for it, bone brain. That's definitely an improvement to your looks.
Look! She's the one who stole the sword. I'll stop her.
All right, that's it. No one around here knows how to treat a lady.
The throne room is just ahead of us.
Let's be careful.
He-Man, look out! What happened to them?
I've got a pretty good idea.
Hello, He-Man. Sorry you missed all the fun.
Who in the world is that?
Tila, Man-at-Arms. This is my friend, She-Ra.
Nice to meet you.
Where's Princess Adora?
She's,
Oh, she's safe.
Right. Safe.
Well, then what are we doing here?
Nothing much. So what say we all leave?
Fine with me.
I don't believe this.
Neither do I! A female He-Man! Oh, this is the worst day of my life!